Hello, everybody. You don't have to call me Sal. You can just call me Shiro. Shiro is fine. I'm happy to be invited to speak at this event that is also, part of my lineage with my uncle, cousin Wale Shoyinka, whose name is, who this is always in honor of. So I'm happy to be here to discuss on impunity in Nigeria, reforms and reactionary issues to make Nigeria better. The headline. For me, I'll be brief. I'm just coming from my radio show, so that's why I couldn't join everybody here, at noon. My radio show ends at noon, so I had to come home and then get ready for this. I'm going to start by saying I don't really know what other people have touched on this issue. But impunity in Nigeria is the bedrock of the nation. Nigeria itself, as an idea, was one of impunity, where a group of outsiders, just decided by themselves, and except we believe that, the British had the divine right to govern the whole world, as they claimed, in the 16th and 17th century when they embarked on their imperial goal of conquering the world, So Nigeria in itself was created, by impunity. Hence, impunity is a behavior that's always been rewarded by those in control of Nigeria. And one thing we must understand is there's no reforming impunity. It's still going to be impunity. There's no way you can fix the Nigerian police force as is today under this same leadership, and exactly not only their physical form, also the fact that their consciousness also dominates society. The problem with Nigeria is that we reinforce the slave master and slave relationship that our colonial masters used to train the first Africans that they used, to govern this country. Europeans didn't govern Nigeria by themselves. They had to train other African people to read and write and carry file and work with them and things like that. So the relationship those Europeans had with many of those our great-grandfathers and grandfathers have been normalized to the extent that it's even called African tradition. And many of these people do not even practice any kind of African tradition except it comes to this oppressive interpretation of what they call respect. And what did this simply mean? To the eyes of the colonialists, all of us here were little more than slaves to them. And one of the characteristics of a slave is not to express themselves, right? A slave has no right to express himself, So when you even look at people and how they raise their kids here, it is that same impunity, that same slave master-slave relationship in our homes where our kids are not even allowed to express themselves because they respect that is not respect. When you deny your kids the ability to express themselves freely, you reinforce a slave mentality in that child. Because no matter how you describe it, only a slave is not allowed to express themselves. Irrespective of the corrective measures, the trainings that we must give our children, expressing themselves must not be one of those things that we are suddenly using to train them. So it goes into our homes because it has been normalized in our society. There's something, I was reading Chiwenzu, and there's something very profound he said in his book, The West and the Rest of Us, that the fact that African societies did not need a lot of the systems that we have operating in our countries today. So for example, the banking system as it is today, the legal system as it is today, the medical system as it is today, was not something that was traditionally African. Many of the people that rose into these positions, were those closest to the colonialists, trained in that way. And it was a relationship, that did not validate the effort of the African, really, to the extent that it should be, or it was, because it was not one of equals. So it is that spirit that dominates our society. Many people talk about police welfare and police training, right? Some of the best trained Nigerians are in the military and police force. Because contrary to what we think, many police and military people tend to go for international training that many Nigerians are not exposed to. They tend to go to Europe and America to be trained in advanced countries on policing techniques. But it doesn't mean that those trainings are encouraged to be reflected in our systems here. When people say, oh, police don't follow the law and all those, police don't follow the law when it comes to do with poor Nigerians, when it comes to do with Nigerians without connection, you see. Because for the elites, first of all, they have police in their convoy, so they cannot even experience police brutality. Many of their workers are able to afford this police protection too. So, and then even in the case where they do not, if the child of a Nigerian elite or a Nigerian big man is beaten up by the police, the man will get justice for that child. That police should be reprimanded. He will call his friend in the army or his friend in the police, and they make the call that Nigerian law book will be dusted and opened against such a policeman. So it is actually not the entirety of Nigerians that experience, the impunity of police. It is actually a class issue. It is an issue where the police and the elite are willing to collaborate to oppress the poor and working class people of this country, and there's no way that reform can stop that kind of oppression. Reform in this case, and that's why I don't understand, the heading kind of confusing to me, but reform is actually a reactionary approach to ending the kind of oppression that dominates our society. So for me, I truly believe that the Nigerian political class, for example, they are also some of the best trained Africans in the world. Okay, maybe some of them are not educated, but many of them have gone to, look at somebody like Saraki, is trained abroad. And all of them have gone to good schools and they've come from good homes with lots of money. And they are also, drowning in money. So that means their welfare package is probably some of the best in the world. But does their behavior match that? Does their behavior to the people match that background that they have of wealth, of comfort, of good upbringing in their homes by their parents? Because the Colonel was alluding to people raised under the bridge not being able to have the good basic discipline needed for the police force. Our politicians are raised in the homes of some of the so-called best Nigerians. And look at their behavior to their own countrymen. Stacking Indomie away from hungry people. There's no reforming such a behavior. The only thing that can change these people in Nigeria is to take power from them. And we are lucky in this generation that this is not 20 years ago that we're having this conversation. We are having this conversation in the age of democracy, where we, as the people of Nigeria, can politically organize ourselves, not to seek reform or from our oppressor, but to actually take power from our oppressor at the polls. This must be where Nigerians concentrate the bulk of their effort today. Because right now, after everything that has happened, two distinct groups have come out. That is the group that is saying we are going to negotiate with our oppressors, basically saying we want our oppressors to save us. And a second group that is saying, no, we will organize politically to take power from these oppressors to deliver to ourselves those things that we believe we deserve as motherland people living in Nigeria. You know, so what am I saying by everything I'm saying here? Is that Nigeria in itself was never created for the benefit of Nigerian people. And since even after our so-called independence, those machinations in Nigeria that create that reality has not been addressed, has not been challenged in any way, shape, you know, or form, to the extent that many people are saying they want to divide Nigeria, forgetting that regionalism was our first political system in this Nigeria. And there was still a coup against that system. What were the reasons for the coup? Corruption, nepotism, death, destruction, violence. The same things happening in this so-called federal Nigeria happened during the time of regionalism. Let's not try and romanticize the past. There are those people also that want to separate themselves from their brothers and sisters. When you ask them, do you want to separate from IMF? They will say no. Do you want to separate from World Bank? They will say no. Do you want to separate from Coca-Cola? They will say no. You see, they never want to cut the strings of imperialism in this country that is leaving Nigerians with actually a little bit of their country, not the whole lot of it. You know, how much percent of Nigeria is run by foreign interest? Nigeria is basically 70%. I mean, our telecommunications are all foreign. Our entertainment, TV companies, mostly foreign. Oil companies, mostly foreign. Everything that is Nigeria, food, everything, mostly foreign. Electronics, mostly foreign. We don't even compete. We do not make the bulk of the money that we generate in this country as Nigerian people. You understand? And these people are not willing to change that. We have people that are willing to stand as gatekeepers and receiving a percentage on the suffering of their people instead of developing the country. What is missing in the conversation of Nigeria is a conversation of national development. You know, you can read the newspaper all day. The fact that we can't go to school is not headline. The fact that children are dying of hunger is not headline. The fact that women, maternal mortality rate is still high. Maternal mortality is still high. You know, infant mortality as well, high. All these things don't make the news. The state of our public schools, when last did that make front page news? It is the discussion of our elites that also dominate the news. So what does that mean? The media is also complicit. So until this kind of spirit is completely exorcised from our society, you know, this is not an issue of saying, yes, the police force, you take a train. No, it is people from the best homes in Nigeria that are destroying Nigeria, if we're going to tell ourselves the truth. So let's not blame lack of home training for what is going on here. There's a spirit, there's an agreement that we, the people of Nigeria, must destroy. It can no longer be status quo. It can no longer be game as usual. We as the people of Nigeria can no longer go to work for them in their banks and assist them in laundering the future of Nigerian people away. We can no longer go and fill the civil service and assist them in corrupting the ministries. We can no longer do these things. If we truly believe that we want things to change, it must start from us. Impunity is rife in our society. From our homes, that's why I use our children and ourselves as the first example. We validate, you know, the oppression of society as the middle class of Nigerians, because we are also the conduit through which oppression gets to the people of Nigeria. You understand? Because without the support and the willingness of the middle class, of the professionals of this country, you know, to assist our oppressors, there's no way that oppression can get to the poor people of this country. We are the lecturers in the university that take money for marks and then rape girls for marks too. Okay? We are the students that go to our university and become the feared thugs inside university against our own fellow students. You see, because the spirit of those things are validated within society. How long has violent cult activity in our universities been going on against fellow students? It has been going on for so long and nothing has been done to stop it. So you come to the street, you are a student in your home, then you go to school, some people are oppressing you to school, you come out from school, you enter the street, police and army are waiting for you there to oppress you, you keep your money in your bank, we are waiting there to oppress you, you go to civil service, we are the ones using bureaucracy to oppress you. In every stage of life, the middle class of Nigeria is complicit in the oppression of the poor. So there's no way the poor will rise up against their oppressor and not come through the middle class and professionals of Nigeria. If we do not begin to exercise this spirit of impunity that we have been sold, it's not our fault. The real reason is because we have also been educated by the oppressor. It is the school we all send our children to, because as we abandon the public school, that we cannot control the curriculum, we don't look at it, we don't check it. Everybody just send their child to the best private school, believing that you are dodging ignorance, until ignorance comes to your front door in another form. Then you now realize that private school is not the solution to ignorance. Our jeeps, we forget bad road. So all these things that we do, for me, is what enables impunity in our society, and we don't really want to change it because we believe that maybe we are all oppressors in waiting. So maybe that is the reason. But if it is not, if we truly believe that we want something to change in this country, then reform is a reactionary position. We must begin the revolutionary activity of organizing ourselves to take political power from our oppressors. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Oluwaseun Anikulapo Kuti. Okay, from what I can deduce, we are all guilty. The walls stops at everyone's door, and of course, there's so much we can all do. And like we all know, questions for our guest speakers. I haven't seen any hands raised. Questions, comments?
Can I speak a bit?
Yes, please, madam, go ahead.
Great. Hi, Seun, good to see you. Just add two things to what you said. I slightly disagree that the issue of police brutality is strictly a class issue. Because I know I consider myself middle class, and I also consider myself, if you broadly define Nigeria's elite to education and who can read, write, and pay for basics, I consider myself a member of Nigeria's educated elite. But I have friends from police brutality. I have friends who've had to go to jail. I have friends who've pursued, tried to get justice and were not able to get justice. I have known technology community last year when the tech community started talking about ENDSars as well, because it began to affect. So you have, for that, at least last year, a big thing was on young men with laptops who were going freelancers. For me, I don't think that's a class thing. If you have a laptop and you have as a means of income, people who were coming out of Printivo, the printing company, and they're saying, look, this is my office right here. And they were still carried by SARS. Someone who works for Ondo State government in an Ondo State government car with license plates, still stopped. Access back ID with an access back card. So I just want to say that, yes, we might think of it in that way. And if just more people on the lower end of the socioeconomic strata will be affected, but I want us to be clear, which is why the protest resonated the way they resonated. I mean, you and I are quite familiar with organizing protests, trying to get people to come out. Is it corruption? Is it any of those lots of issues? But police resonated across socioeconomic strata, because every strata could say somebody has pulled a gun on you and said, I will kill you and nothing will happen. It's not differentiated by class. And I completely agree with you that regardless of the that we have or disagree with, that the only structure we have to engage with, supposedly, as I said, Nigeria has been described as a quasi-military police state, but the structures which we have to engage are democratic structures. So if we want to use those structures to change those who are in positions of authority, then we need to begin to talk very clearly about political participation, educate people, educate citizens along those lines. And then two, I wanted, let me not say two, sorry, Rose, last one. I wanted you to clarify, you had said some people want to negotiate and then some people want to change. What group negotiating? I'm not aware.
Okay, Sean, would you like to respond to that quickly?
first and foremost, no matter what the Access Bank and Ondo, whatever people carried and the laptop technologies, it is not as bad as what the poor in Nigeria would have suffered in that same instance. Somebody still went to politicians to build them. Go to Kirikiri and see how many people are there awaiting trial for just walking on the road. See what I'm saying? You know, justice in Nigeria is that you got out from the issue. If you can pull yourself out of the issue and nothing happened to you in the hand of police in this country, me and Fela's son have been slapped by the police.
Exactly.
But I will not consider that the same thing that is going on with the people of this country. I am still privileged to the extent that even though the police slap me, I slap him back, we fight, we go to police station, and people will come. They'll tell him, apologize to him, apologize, everybody will go their way. Countless of cases. You see, in fact, I feel that there was an elitist tone to the whole ENDSars issue, because SARS was the only police organization that was brutalizing everybody across the classes. Not those ones that have mopo, but we that we bought Benz, that we bought some nice car, have a nice job, that we believe that money has saved us from Nigeria's problem. SARS was there to always smack us back into reality, you know. So everybody hated SARS. You know, the Yahoo boys that do their criminality for the sake of wanting money to get out of poverty so they can be big man, you know, SARS slap that shit, you know, slap that out of your face, you know. So everybody has issue with SARS, you know, but not normal police, not military problem that is destroying Nigeria, you know. So for me, there was the elitism of that, you know, like ENDSars. Okay, then what? You know, then what? Does that flow that's why when prisoners were breaking out from prison, they say prisoners. I say all the people breaking out are waiting trial. They've been there for nothing for years. Just picked up on the streets, you know. So the reality is different. The reality is different. Let's not even kid ourselves, you know. And now there are people negotiating with this government. That's a fact. You know, there are people sitting there in the panel, in this illegal panel of the accused investigating himself. There are people sitting down there. That means they've endorsed it. There are people saying we should follow it, watch it, go and get results from. My family sat down in the panel after 1,000 soldiers walked from the barracks in Abati to our house and burnt it down, threw my grandmother out the window, went back to their barracks. Government constituted this kind of same panel. At the end of the day, they seized our land. You see, we lost the land till today, and said they didn't know that if they knew the soldiers they would give us, they didn't know who the 1,000 soldiers were. And that was the end of the story. But we were the ones that still lost our land at the end of it. So when I tell ENDSars people that don't worry, let them finish this panel. Don't be sure that your freedom is secure. At the end of the day, this panel might find out that you are the one that was going to change. You know, so definitely there are still groups of people among us in this Nigeria that feel that we can change our oppressors or in some way reform oppression or in some way, you know, perfect oppression in a way where people are oppressed and they are able to live with it, you know, as they have been doing for years. Why are they now talking now? You know, that's why when people were burning things and breaking shops, suddenly the Nigerian middle class found his voice against destruction of property. I was surprised because when Fashola was destroying Oturomagbe, nobody said anything. Those were properties, you know, those were businesses, you know.
Okay, sorry, just 1 minute. I would like to allow a question to come in at this point, please. And I also want to know what the meaning of Oturomagbe, please.
Oh, it's one neighborhood like this that was he Ambody or Fashola? I think it's Ambody. Just went there and leveled the whole place and they reclaimed the land.
In Badagry.
They've been doing for. Sanwo-Olu has gone to do his own in Takwa Bay too. They went and also destroyed the artist village. They've been doing it all over Lagos. Nobody says anything. You know, it's fine. It's business. I mean, they are developing Lagos. You know.
Okay, so let us allow Oluwaseyi Abayomi.